And if we have it get away from us in one part of regional Victoria, then all of regional Victoria will be closed. And just think about that. People don't just stay in one part of the regions. They move, they travel, they work. This has come from authorised movements. There are other authorised movements and a freedom of movement across regional Victoria that would see this spread. We know that. New South Wales did a very similar thing just the other day. This is what the national plan calls for, targeted lockdowns in order to preserve the low virus status of a larger group. No one wants to make this decision. We will support the people of Ballarat. There'll be further business support, which is still not expired from the announcements that were made previously, despite the fact that Ballarat has been open for a short period of time. We didn't revise down those business supports. They're still being paid. But there'll be further announcements made quite soon. If there was another way, if there was different advice, then the Chief Health Officer would have provided it and we would have followed that.
Given regional Victoria has lifted its restrictions, are we confident that the virus has been contained to Ballarat? Are you concerned that it might be in other parts of regional Victoria?
Well, we don't have zero cases in regional Victoria. We have some cases, and where we have control of those chains of transmission, where we're confident that we have control of those outbreaks, those communities remain open. When we get the very clear sense from both what we know and what we can reasonably deduce via, for instance, sewerage testing, that there are cases out there that are haven't been tested yet, are not yet known to us, they're not formally part of the outbreak, but we know and suspect that it's bigger and broader than it might appear. That's when these very difficult decisions have to be made. And as we all know only too well, if you wait a couple of weeks to be proven wrong or right, if you hesitate, then you finish up with many, many more cases, and then that's what potentially puts at risk the status of all of regional Victoria. I want to be able to take further steps to open up regional Victoria even more in coming weeks. That's what I want to be able to do. But first of all, we have to safeguard their low virus status. And yes, there'll be cases, but if they're known, if they're isolated, if we don't believe on all the available evidence that there's something else going on in the background, then regional Victoria can remain open. For instance, there are still cases in Shepparton, but they've been in ISO. They've cleared through their day 13 testing. Some have had to do 2 lots of ISO. They're not yet through the second lot of the 14 days that they've had to isolate away. Shepparton shows you that this approach works, but everyone's got to work together. And of course, there's a big job for us to do to support the people of Ballarat. I have a lot of family in that part of that part of the state. Many, many friends as well. This is not the news that I wanted to be giving that particular community, but we will stand with the people of Ballarat and we will support them just as we have the people of the Golden Valley, and they'll get to the other side of this.
There are more active cases in Geelong, so why Ballarat?
Well, again, I've just made the point, I think, a number of times. There is a sense of control in some parts and there is a sense where there is perhaps not control. To speak to the differences between Geelong and Ballarat, which I think he's already done, but he can speak to it again, I'll throw to the Chief Health Officer.